Zineb, a PhD student at the Computer Science of Laboratory University of Qatar. I'm glad today to present the advancements on our research study regarding serious games in the service of the integration of graduate students. We studied in this paper a case of computer science engineering students. So this work was received by the help of my dear professors Moumen, Aniss, and Fakhri Youssef. I thank him a lot. And I thank the committee working on behalf of this conference for their great effort as team. So let's begin by presenting the organization of our presentation. So we are going to introduce all the idea and the goals we want to achieve in the frame of this research study. Then the methodology we followed in order to achieve these goals. We are going to explain two methods used, so exploratory survey and the qualitative method we used also. Then we are going to display the analysis regarding the two of them and the results to conclude with. So as you know all, students develop a big commitment personally and invest financially to pursue their education and get a degree that opens a lot of gateways for them to have a job and so on. But what if the degree is not enough today? As time has so much changed, recruiters require today several abilities and skills, either than just knowledge. So our research aims to help these graduated students to easily integrate the work sector by getting these skills and these abilities lacking in them using serious games. So to do so, we followed a methodology named design-based research, which is a pragmatic application of learning theories composed of multiple steps. As you see, first of all, we have the specification of pedagogical objectives. Then we get to choose a serious game model, a proposal model to work on different components to finally develop it and experiment it on students. And assessment of the data analysis to prove if it's really efficient or not. The model we propose at first. But before doing all of this, we have to, first of all, the first step is the specification, which means, in other words, the identification of the required skills and abilities or training lacking in students before their integration. So to do so, we followed, first of all, an exploratory method using a survey. So the survey we launched it in a company, in an international, so in an international IT company located in many cities in Morocco. It's called CGI. So we launched this survey to nearly 60 engineers, firstly recruited. They've been just recruited after achieving their final project graduation, under the theme of turn data into information and information into insight. So the survey was composed of three sections. So the presentation section, of course, this gathers some statistics about the responders, mainly their name, gender, dates of integration, etc. The integration section, we focused on their feedback, on their own experience about integration, their first integration. How was it? How was their experience? Their feedback about this. Then, is there any mandatory training courses they had to achieve? If there is any, so what type of these trainings, and in which form they had to achieve them? If it was just conventional or traditional way, which means face-to-face, or they were on e-learning platforms, or what? Finally, we asked them for their point of view, their perspective of things, so their feedback about the process in general, if they have any suggestions or ideas to improve this process specifically. So this is the first method we followed in order to identify and work on the first step of specification and identification using the first exploratory survey, then the qualitative, so, so this, then the qualitative method containing interviews. So we prepared two guide interviews, one dedicated for decision makers, which means managers, directors, team leaders, the ones who decide if a graduated student is okay or validated to be recruited or not, even human resources. And the second guide interview was dedicated in the lens for the ex-laureate. So the laureates, they having experienced this integration and being validated. So both guide interviews contain this five sections. Okay, so presentation just of the context of the interview. We had to explain, of course, the idea and the research uh, subject to the interviewees. Then we gathered their data, mainly, for example, as I mentioned here, their background, academic background, sorry, the company they work on, their position right now, how much they had as experience until now, etc. Then we passed to the introduction phase, so which contains the explication of the problematic, the stakeholders so participating in this, and their feedback about in general about the process in general of employment. So on, we enter or we start the centering section to define the main problems facing laureates from both sides. What ex-laureates had as problems when they integrate, and what the recruiters see as problems in the laureates during their integration. So it was from both sides. The deepen section, we focused on the required skills and knowledge that lacks in the newly graduated students. So in order to make it to have a successful integration, what made it successful? We try to identify the main criteria, okay, and the main skills and the main knowledge needed and required to say yes for the students or no for other one. So the conclusion is mainly we ask them for the suggestions, their reflection about the subject, if they have any ideas or suggestions to share with us. So in general, as you can see here, we had really variant and multiple interviewers. We had, for example, in the side of I just mentioned some of them. So we had in the side of decision makers. We had project director, project manager, team leader. All of them work in CGI with different academic backgrounds. So the director was from UCS, another one from Faculty of Science in Zohr, Agadir. Also, they vary in their experience. For example, we have the project director. He's also a specialist in innovation and digital transformation. He has really more than 10 years of experience. The project manager, he has between 5 to 10 years, etc. And on the other side, we have also some software engineers. They had between 2 to 3 years, so they're freshly recruited. We can categorize them under the category of laureates. They were from some of them from NSSFE, some of them of especially, etc. So these two methods allows us to have really some insightful results as we are going to display. For the exploratory analysis, first of all, we have the 50-50. So the answer, or the responders, sorry, were 50 men and 50 women. 80% of them, they integrate the company in 2019, which is a good, which is a positive and good insight for us, because that means that the process, this process we're working on, or this process we're trying to analyze and find the gaps in it, is new. It's not something old. It's freshly new. It exists today, okay, in companies. So all of them, they confirmed, so 100% of them confirmed that they have to follow some mandatory training, and not just follow. So they have to achieve, they have to succeed these trainings, because at the end of these trainings, there is a quizzes, there is evaluation forms. They have to succeed these trainings to get their job, to get a job at the end. And all of the trainings are, we said, we asked them about the nature. So all of them are e-learning, So they pass them on a platform named Skillsoft. Okay, 50, the most important result is 50% of them are not satisfied. They didn't like this experience. They really wish if they have another alternative, because the experience, as some of them described, it was annoying and not very. It was interesting, but very annoying. They couldn't pass. Mainly, there's a lot of trainings. They had to pass them all. They had to achieve them all. So it wasn't evident. So here's this chart that describes the most courses or trainings they mentioned. So they achieve trainings about security, about business, some of them about management, some of trainings, mandatory for trainings were about agile and DevOps and strategy also. So this is give us the first insights about our first step we're trying to achieve, which is the specification of the pedagogical objectives. As you can see, we can from now on start to identify the required training or the required aspect that students lack, which companies try to fill. Okay, so regarding the qualitative analysis, as mentioned here, so I tried to briefly resume the first phases. So the first phase is all of them, so explorers and managers, confirm that there is only 3 gateways in order to allowing the graduated students to have an opportunity, to have an internship inside the company. So the using forms. So the forms achieved or organized with cooperation with the universities or high schools. Then there's the cooptation, so if recommendation of someone, okay. Then there is the candidature of final project entrance, of the simple candidature. If the graduated student succeeds to pass one of these gateways to have an internship, of course, he has to pass 4 steps before getting into the company for the internship. First of all, he has to pass a logic test, succeed the technical interview or technical test, then pass the managerial interview and the HR human resources interview. And after 6 months, he can the managers of the recruiter, decide if it's okay or not, validated or not for the job. So I managed to assess general results here. So all managers and lawyers confirmed that the employment access today is not easy at all. Not easy, based according to their experience or the experience with the students they have as interns. And more than 10% of students don't get validated. So the managers, we ask the managers and the team leaders if they have any evaluation forms, because if we're going to identify a training that we are going to gamify and work on them to help the students and the graduated students to have these skills and abilities, we need to know what are the access and the aspect of evaluation forms they're going to be evaluated on. So of course, they said they all confirmed they have different evaluation forms regarding presentation, education, experience, professional communication, and others. So the main aspect where all the managers and the team leaders see that students have problems on are teamwork, professional communication, and making decisions. So yeah, that's all. That's why all the students must achieve some mandatory training on e-learning platform called Skillforce, as mentioned before. They vary between security, data privacy, communication, and soft skills. And really, 100% of them, of all the interviewers, confirmed that the trainings were online, not engaging, neither motivating. So they, as mentioned on the survey too, they wish if they had an alternative to pass these trainings. So we asked them if somehow we tried to gamify this training. If we find a way to gamify this training, which will be interesting. And all of them agreed that any kind of games, when applied on one training of these trainings, is going to make it fun. It's going to make it fun, I'm sorry, and entertaining, not just a requirement, but it's going to be engaging and motivating. Of course, this results strongly support the need of preparing our graduate students in areas other than just technical or theoretical knowledge. And games today are capable of being effective in this side of teaching and learning these skills. So we we try to follow this approach. We described firstly. We conducted multiple interviews and this survey to gather the main needs that our game satisfy. Before getting deeper to create a prototype to fulfill these needs in different offshore enterprises, we hope so. Our goal, our objective of this research study is going to be fulfilled in order to help these graduate students and really help the whole process to be more efficient and more more useful for both recruiters and graduate students. Thank you all for your